And welcome back to Play Action Fantasy Football. This is Jonathan here with you. We're going over our Week 14 running back start sits. It's definitely a good week for football going into the playoffs. Hopefully most of you guys there are in the playoffs or at least in the picture, fighting your way into the playoffs. So let's go ahead and get started. We got Thursday night Patriots at the Steelers. We got Ezekiel Elliott for the Patriots and Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren for the Steelers. I'm starting all three of these guys, okay? Ezekiel Elliott, definitely want to start him this week. He's a big part of this He's going to be a big part of this Patriots offense now that Ramondre Stevenson is out. This Patriots offense does not rely on a lot of passing. Their quarterback situation is very messed up, so Elliott is certainly going to be a big part of this offense against a Steelers defense who's very, very mediocre. They're in the middle. They're not a bad defense, but they're nothing crazy. So I expect Elliott to have his best game so far this year. And for the Steelers, Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren, like I said, we're going to start both of those guys, but Najee Harris is definitely their lead back. He gets a lot of those rushing yards and a lot of those carries, and he definitely has a higher chance of scoring. So I definitely like Harris in your lineup. And as far as Jaylen Warren, he catches the ball quite a bit. He gets rushing yards as well. And with Kenny Pickett's injury, we really will see how this Steelers offense plays out, but they're going to rely on Harris and Warren quite a bit against a struggling Patriots defense. So definitely want Warren in your lineup, whether it's a flex, RB2, and same thing with Harris. I think they're both solid flex positions. Try to get them in your lineup if you can. And that brings me to Sunday at 1 o'clock. We have the Texans at the Jets. Devin Singletary, Breece Hall, starting both those guys. It's a good week for running backs in all honesty. This is a good matchup for Singletary against the Jets. We've seen what C.J. Stroud's done with Singletary, getting him the ball, passing him the ball, and Singletary definitely gets a lot of usage there for the Texans. So going to start Singletary this week, and the Jets, Breece Hall, obviously got to start him. He's been playing as a top 5 to 10 running back at least throughout the year. So Breece Hall definitely against a good Texans defense. They've been playing better and better. But Breece Hall, the Jets just rely on him so much. He's a huge part of the offense. Definitely going to get you points. So Breece Hall, definitely going to start him. Next up, we're going to the Rams at the Ravens. The Ravens did have a bye week last week. We're looking at Gus Edwards and Keaton Mitchell for the Ravens, and I'm sitting both those guys. So Edwards, he hasn't been too impressive, I would say, over the past few weeks. He had a couple good games, but against the Rams have a very good defense. And Keaton Mitchell, he's on the rise. He's taking a lot of those carries away from Edwards, and it's looking better and better for Mitchell. Mitchell might end up being the RB1 throughout the year. We'll have to wait and see how that goes. He's on the rise, but I don't think this is a good game for Keaton Mitchell to be putting up a season record or anything like that. So Keaton Mitchell is going to have to sit against a good Rams defense. And for the Rams, Kyren Williams, he's definitely starting for me. Against Ravens, they have a good defense, not anything crazy. They're okay. But Kyren Williams has been such a part of this Rams offense. He's a very talented, elusive player, so definitely want Kyren Williams in your lineup for sure. Next up, we're going to the Panthers at the Saints. I'm excited for this one. Kamara, he's obviously going to be a start for the Saints. We all know what he's capable of. Not much to cover there. Now, as far as the Panthers go, Chuba Hubbard, I got to put him as a cautionary start, okay? Now, I put him at cautionary only because the Saints have a very good defense. This is not a good matchup for him. However, the last 2 weeks, he's been playing phenomenal. He's gone up against some similar good run defenses like the Saints. So it's going to be a good week for him, I believe. So Hubbard, I would try to put him in your lineup. I wouldn't put all your eggs into his basket against the Saints. However, he's certainly on the rise, and I like him there. Definitely in a flex spot. 100% in a flex spot, and if you have to, maybe an RB2. The next game is the Colts at the Bengals. Zach Moss, Joe Mixon. Zach Moss we'll start with. He's going to be a cautionary start. Jonathan Taylor's now out. Zach Moss has been filling in the past week or two, and he has not been looking like the Zach Moss he started off at the beginning of the year as. So against the Bengals, who have another mediocre defense, not a very good defense, it does give a good matchup for Moss. Moss can certainly have the potential to score a decent amount of points, so I definitely might like him in a flex position depending what other players you got there in your lineup. But I do think Moss could certainly be a reliable running back, so I'm going to cautiously start him this week. And as far as the Bengals go, Joe Mixon, I got to start him. We saw what he did last week, or I should say Monday. Again, I'm recording on Tuesday, so it was last night. Joe Mixon, he had a great game. Went into overtime, put up, I think, 25, 30 points in fantasy. So he's going to be a start against the Colts this week. The Colts don't have the best defense, so it's definitely a good matchup for Mixon, and look for him in your lineup. The next game we're going to is the Buccaneers at the Falcons. Rachaad White, Bijan Robinson. We'll start with Rachaad White for the Bucs. Rachaad White is going to be a start. He had 6 catches for 6 attempts for 65 yards last week against the last game against the Falcons. So that just goes to show you, my point being, the Falcons have a great run defense. We all know that they're one of the best in the league. However, against running backs in general, they definitely can be giving up points in the receiving area of that. So definitely Rachaad White this week, going to have to start him. He's been putting up tremendous numbers. He's actually been putting up top 5 to top 10 numbers as far as running backs go this year. So definitely got to get him in your lineup. As far as the Falcons go, Bijan Robinson, he's going to be a cautionary start this week. And that's because the Bucs have a good defense. At the end of the day, Bijan Robinson, last time he faced them, he did not have a great game. He only put up a few points, and it was not anything spectacular whatsoever. So this week against the Bucs, I don't see it getting that much better. But Bijan Robinson is a huge part of that offense. He's a great running back. So I'm going to have to cautiously start him, maybe as a flex, but I would not trust him as my RB1. Next up, we're going to the Jags at the Browns. Travis Etienne, he's going to be a start for me for Jaguars. The Browns defense has been struggling as of late. They start off this season super hot, but they've definitely been giving up points to running backs and a lot of yards to running backs. So Etienne's going to have a hell of a day this week. And then as far as the Browns go, Jerome Ford, I'll start him this week, and Hunt's going to be a sit. So Hunt, he really has not, I don't think he's gotten over 10 points over the past 5, 6, 7 weeks. So he really is touchdown reliable. Doesn't score a ton of fantasy points. So he's going to be a sit for me against the Jacksonville Jaguars this week, and Jerome Ford will be a start. Jerome Ford, he's been proving himself more and more. Joe Flacco obviously likes to throw to him. Caught a touchdown pass last week. So it's looking good for Jerome Ford. I'm going to have to start him against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we're going to roll with that. Next up, we're going to the Lions at the Bears. Montgomery, Gibbs, obviously for the Lions. We're going to start both those guys. Not too much to cover there. We all know how bad the Bears defense is, and we all know what Montgomery and Gibbs is capable of, so you obviously got to start both those guys in your lineup. And as far as the Bears go, Khalil Herbert, Rashawn Johnson. Khalil Herbert, 3 weeks ago against the Lions, had 16 rushing attempts for 35 yards and 2 catches for 6 yards. That's pretty bad. I do not like this matchup for Herbert. You have to sit him and Rashawn Johnson. Rashawn Johnson's been stepping up a little bit in Herbert's absence. However, it's definitely not a good matchup for the Bears. Don't start either Herbert or Johnson. Now we're going to our 4 o'clock games. We got the Seahawks at 49ers, Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker for the Seahawks, McCaffrey for the 49ers. We're not talking about McCaffrey. You're starting him against a bad Seattle defense. And as far as Seattle's running backs, Zach Charbonnet, Kenneth Walker, both these guys are questionable. It's kind of crazy. Zach Charbonnet, his knee, he's having a knee injury. He's questionable. We'll see if he plays or not. Again, I do record this on Tuesdays, so we're going to have to see how it plays out throughout the week, but definitely going to have to sit Charbonnet this week. Even if he does play, 49ers have a very good defense, and I don't think Charbonnet will be able to take care of that coming off that knee injury. Now, as far as Kenneth Walker goes, he's going to be a start if he's playing. He's questionable. We don't know if he's going to be playing or not. It's up in the air right now. Pete Carroll really was unsure on Monday what was going to happen, so we're still gonna wait and see what happens. But if he is playing, definitely got to get Kenneth Walker in there. It doesn't matter that he's facing the 49ers. He's going to put up a lot more numbers than Zach Charbonnet would, so I definitely want to start Walker this week if he is playing. So keep an eye on that. Next, we're going to be going to the Vikings at the Raiders. Alexander Mattison, Josh Jacobs. We'll just start with Josh Jacobs for the fun of it against the Raiders. For the Raiders. He's definitely going to be a start. The Vikings have a good defense, especially against the run. However, Jacobs is a huge part of this Raiders offense. He puts up tremendous numbers. Easily start Josh Jacobs this week. And Alexander Mattison, he's been kind of had a rough season this year. He started off very good, dealt with some injuries, had some backups playing for him, but now it seems like he is back in full effect, and this Raiders defense against running backs is number 27, which is not very good. So look for Alexander Mattison this week to have a good week. Definitely want to start him in your lineup. The next 4 o'clock game we're going to is the Broncos at the Chargers. We're starting both Javonte Williams and Austin Eckler this week. Austin Eckler's almost always a start, but against the Broncos, he's going to have a hell of a game. Don't need to cover that too much. Eckler's a start. Javonte Williams at the Chargers. Oh boy. Javonte Williams, I have a lot of, I don't want to say faith. I didn't always have faith in him, but I do think he's a very talented running back, and the Broncos this year have been using him the correct way. And against the Chargers defense, who have been struggling all year, this is a good game for Javonte Williams. Definitely look for him to be putting up a lot of points this week. Get him in your lineup. The last 4 o'clock game we're going to is the Bills at the Chiefs. James Cook, Isaiah Pacheco. We could start with James Cook for the Bills. He's going to be a cautionary start this week. We really don't know how he's going to play. He's the most inconsistent running back in the NFL, and this week is no different against a very good Chiefs defense. So you can say he has a lot of potential and maybe throw him in your flex, but I would not trust James Cook anything more than a flex position this week. And as far as the Chiefs go, Isaiah Pacheco, definitely got to start Isaiah Pacheco. The Bills are number 20 against running backs this year. They've been giving up a good amount of points. They have not been on a good roll. And Isaiah Pacheco over the last 2 weeks has had over 20 points. That's pretty impressive. I know a lot of people are going to say, he has to come down from it, bound to have a bad game. But against the Bills, I don't see it happening. He's going to be a big part of this offense. And so look for him to be getting a lot of checkdowns, getting a lot of points. And then we got our Sunday night game, the Eagles at the Cowboys. Good rivalry game going. DeAndre Swift, Kenneth Gainwell. DeAndre Swift, that's another guy we have no idea. He's questionable. We have no idea if he's going to be playing or not. We don't even have an injury update on what the injury was on Sunday when he got taken out. So just keep in mind that you got to keep an eye on this throughout the week. But at the end of the day, if Swift is playing, you definitely kind of have to get him in your lineup, obviously, against a good Cowboys defense. But just be careful of his injury. And then Kenneth Gainwell, who's going to be behind him, who's going to be starting if Swift isn't playing, I'm going to have to sit him against a good Cowboys defense. So definitely got to sit Gainwell if Swift is out. And then that brings me to our 2 Monday night games. We got the Packers at the Giants, running backs Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon, Saquon Barkley. We'll go with the easy one with the Giants, Saquon Barkley. You got to start him this week against a bad Packers defense. They've been struggling all year, and Barkley's a huge part of this Giants offense, so he's definitely going to be getting points. And as far as the Packers go, A.J. Dillon, Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is questionable. He's been out for the past couple weeks with the MCL sprain. It's not looking good for him. I'm going to sit him either way. And A.J. Dillon, I'm going to start him. He had 73 yards against the Chiefs last week. And this week he's going up against the Giants, who are not nearly as good against the run as the Chiefs are. So A.J. Dillon, great matchup for him. Definitely get A.J. Dillon in your lineup this week. In the last game, but not least, as I like to say, we have the Titans at the Dolphins. Running backs Derrick Henry, Tyjae Spears, Raheem Mostert, and Achane. Now, Derrick Henry, we're going to start with the Titans. Derrick Henry, going to start him this week against the Dolphins. Derrick Henry, he's been having a rough year, and he's been playing okay. He dealt with some sort of injury last week, but he's certainly looking okay. They passed him through concussion protocol, so that's looking good. So I think Henry does have a good week this week, but Tyjae Spears, I would not count on that. The Dolphins do have a good defense, and I don't expect Spears to be catching a lot of those passes, having an elusive game like he sometimes does. Now, as far as the Dolphins go, Raheem Mostert, Achane, got to start Mostert this week, got to start Achane. They're both two phenomenal running backs, arguably the best duo in the league behind David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. So Mostert and Achane, you got to start both them against the Titans defense, which the Titans defense, they're pretty good. They're a lot better than people probably give them credit for, especially against the run. So just look for Mostert and Achane there. Don't expect them to go too crazy, but definitely start them in your lineup. And that's going to do it for our Week 14 running back start sits. I hope you guys enjoyed. This is Jonathan here with you. Hit like, go subscribe real quick. We definitely appreciate whenever you guys subscribe. We really do. We also do appreciate some feedback, whether it's a little negative, I guess, or positive. We do like to hear back from you guys. We like to interact. So please comment, let us know what you guys think, and have a great week.